Hello and welcome to Parsha time. Mora is so excited. It's Parsha time. It's Parsha time. It's Parsha time. If you're sitting with your siblings and they're watching this with you, you can get them to tap their knees or bang on the table and sing again. It's Parsha time. It's Parsha time. It's Parsha time. Die Parshas von die Wach seien Tazria und Metzorah, Tazria und Metzorah, Tazria und Metzorah. Die Parshas von die Wach seien Tazria und Metzorah, Tazria und Metzorah seien die Parshas von die Wach. The Parshas of this week are Tazria and Metzorah, Tazria and Metzorah, Tazria and Metzorah. The Parshas of this week are Tazria and Metzorah. Tazria and Metzorah are the Parshas of the week. And if you notice, this person looks super saying, wow, because there are two Parshas we read this week, Tazria and Metzorah. So, in Parshas Tazria, which we're going to start with first, starts off to tell us that when a baby boy is born and he is healthy, when he is 8 days old, do you know what we have to do? You know what needs to happen to him? If you guessed bris milah, you are right. When a baby boy is 8 days old, his tati has a responsibility to make sure that either he or he pays a maihel, comes and does a bris milah on the baby boy. If he's not healthy, then it doesn't happen on the 8th day. But for all baby yingalach that are healthy, a bris happens on the 8th day. Now, if you look at this picture, you see that there's a mommy holding a basket. There's a sheep, and there's a bird, and behind her is the tati holding a baby. And you see a curtain that shows like the curtain of the Mishkan, and eventually will be the Beis HaMikdash, and a kohen standing there, and then you see the edge of a mizbeach. You know what this was? When a mommy had a baby, and she finally was better, and she was safe and healthy. She had to either go to the Mishkan, or once the Beis HaMikdash was set, go to Yerushalayim to the Beis HaMikdash, and bring up a karban. A karban is like when we daven. We don't have a Beis HaMikdash today. So when we daven, we are bringing up karbanis. And there's all kinds of karbanis and there's all kinds of tefillahs. She is saying, thank you, Hashem. That's her thank you tefillah to Hashem for giving me this baby and helping me be safe and healthy. So she didn't just bring up one karban. She brought up two karbanis. As you see, there's a bird and a shepselah. Over here, we start talking about something very sad. We have something called tumah, where you become tameh. Like when you go to the bathroom, you need to wash your hands. When you touch your feet and you want to daven, you need to wash negelvasser. When you wake up in the morning and your neshama comes back to you, you need to wash negelvasser because you now became tameh. But then that's a very easy kind of tumah. You just wash your hands. In the times of the Beis HaMikdash, people would sometimes go to the mikvah if they wanted to eat from karbanis for other kinds of tumah. But then there's a kind of tumah that washing hands and going to the mikvah just doesn't help. You see, this man got a boo-boo on his skin, and he is not sure what it is. He thinks this boo-boo might be tzara'as. And if he has tzaras, it's a very serious tumah. But he can't decide that he has tzaras. And no one can help him with that. Only a kohen, you see. There's the kohen. And the kohen is taking a look. And the kohen has to decide if the boo-boo that's coming out of his skin, that is tzaras. And if he says that it is tzaras, this person now becomes tameh. And we're going to talk about what happens when a person has tzaras. You see, in this picture tells you what happens if a person is a Metzorah. He has to leave everything. He cannot stay with anybody. And he has to be away in the midbar. When Bnei Israel were in the midbar, he had to go out of, there were 3 camps, he had to go to all 3 camps. In the times of the Beis Hamikdash, he had to go all the way out of Yerushalayim to a special place meant for people who had tzaras. He had to be away from everybody. There's an expression that we still use today. Sometimes when we talk about other people, we call them michutz lamachane. They're away from everybody. They're out of the camp. And this was a very hard thing, and it made a person feel bad. So we ask a question, why did a person get tzaras? So our Chachamim tell us that very often, tzaras was a punishment for lashon hara. What happens when you say lashon hara? When you say lashon hara, you are causing someone to be pushed away from everybody. You're saying some not nice things, and now the person you're talking about is not going to be with other people. That's what happens. So when you talk lashon hara, you need to leave the camp. You need to be away from everybody. And this gives the person time to think about what it is they said, to be careful with their words, to not push other people away. And the person had to stay at least for 7 days away from everybody. We call that in seclusion, away by himself. The kohen would come after 7 days to see if it was still there. If it was still there, he had to stay. But if it wasn't, he then had to count another 8 days, and we're going to see in the next parsha, in Metzorah, what a person did. So he can re-enter what we call re-enter society, as the grown-ups like to say, be able to join everybody again. So this is from Parshash Metzorah. In Parshash Metzorah, it starts off telling us that if somebody had tzaras, like we saw in Tazria, and now he's ready to rejoin everybody, ready to come back, he can't just go right away. He needs to, and we know that his tzaras went away and he's now clean. He has to go and bring up karbanos. He needs to bring up 2 birds and bring special wood and other things in order to become tahar, pure again. Now, we just said before that when a mommy brings up a carbon, that's a kind of tefillah. When we daven, we're bringing up karbanos. This Chumash in general, Vayikra, is all about karbanos, and like we said, we don't have a Beis Hamikdash, so when we daven, we're bringing up a carbon. This kind of carbon is an I'm sorry carbon. I'm sorry, Hashem. I'm sorry for speaking lashon hara. So when we daven, we also sometimes say thank you, and sometimes we say we're sorry. The grown-ups, at least, definitely when we daven Shemoneh Esrei, we're saying I'm sorry. And this man is now bringing up a carbon chatas, and he's saying I'm sorry to Hashem. Now, there are other kinds of tzaras discussed in this parsha. There's tzaras of the clothes, but now we're going to talk about one final tzaras of the houses. So, if a house had tzaras, the kohen had to come and look at the walls. There would be like splotches, green and red, and the family had to take out everything that was in their house and put it outside, and then they had to break down the whole entire house, break down the walls. Sometimes tzaras came as a punishment for someone who didn't want to share. For example, someone would knock on the door and say, "Hey, can I borrow some flour?" "No, go away. I don't have flour." "Hey, can I borrow some sugar?" "Nope, I don't have any." And then what would happen is when there's tzaras of the houses, you have to take everything out of the house. Now everybody got to see that this person didn't tell the truth and he just didn't want to share, or she didn't want to share. But this picture is not showing that. It's showing something else. It says, when you will come to Eretz Canaan, that will become our home, our land, Eretz Yisrael. If there will be tzaras, you need to break down the walls. Now, what happened when Bnei Israel first came to Eretz Canaan? They had a war, and they had to fight the Canaanim and capture the land. And you know what happened? The Canaanim knew that Bnei Israel were coming, so they decided that they didn't want Bnei Israel to get their riches, so they hid in the walls treasures. And Hashem wanted them to get the treasure. So all of a sudden, tzaras started coming up at the houses, and the Yidden had to, they brought the kohen who said, yes, this is tzaras, and they had to take everything out the house. And then they had to break down the walls. And guess what they found in the walls? They found treasures. And now they were rich. And this song is a Parshash song that's going to play. I hope you enjoy it.
Speaking badly.